Mark Jackson. Dr. Mark Jackson, he is the Senior Product Manager for the Indoor Environmental Quality of Daikin North America. And he's based out of Houston, but he's responsible for the Daikin IAQ ecosystem. Um, Dr. Mark has a numerous amount of degrees. One of them, his most recent one, is a PhD in civil architecture and environmental engineering, specializing in IAQ from the University of Texas, Austin. And he's earned his MBA at the University of Texas in Dallas and his bachelor's and master's degree in engineering at Purdue University. So he's got a lot of degrees, and the last one is as well accredited professional through the International of Well Building Institution, whose mission is to advance health and well-being in buildings. So he's got a numerous amount of exciting degrees. So without further ado, let's learn about Daikin Air Intelligence and take it away, Dr. Mark.
Howdy, thank you much, Jonathan. I am really excited to be here today. As you may have gathered, one of the things I enjoy doing the most is talking about indoor air quality, and I've been doing that for over 20 years now. What I want to share with you today is Daikin's view of air intelligence and how we can optimize energy and indoor air quality. So we've got a new brochure out called The One Ecosystem, which a lot of this talk is based on. And that is up on the IAQ Symposium website, and you can download it from there. I'll also give you links throughout this presentation. The presentation in a PDF form will be posted on the website later today, as will this recording. So first off, I want to talk about Daikin's vision of how we're going to get to net zero by 2050. Daikin corporately believes that climate change is a very real issue, and they are a strong supporter of the Paris Agreement and are working very hard. We've had multiple meetings over the last several years on how we can reduce our global impact on climate change. And one of the big things we're doing is going to lower global warming potential refrigerants. We've developed the R32, and last year we made that the patents available to anyone in the world that wants to make R32. We also make it ourselves, but we want to make sure it's the good thing for the planet, so we make it available to everyone. Of course, there will be transitioning from fossil fuels like natural gas furnaces to heat pumps. We're one of the leaders in heat pump technology for ultra cold environments. We have some of these working in Canada, and they're working well. And so that technology will be improved and higher efficiencies to reduce energy consumption and so forth. So that's where Daikin Global is looking at, and we do have the goal to get to net zero by 2050. So I want to give like a personal story about why energy is important to me. And about 3 years ago, I had a intern working for me, and she asked, well, what CO2 level should I use for outside when we're calculating leakage rates in the house by CO2 levels? And I said, oh, 350 is fine, that'll work. And so she looks it up and she says, Mark, you know, it's above 400 now. So when I got my first engineering degrees, you know, it was in the 350 range. And then when I got the last one, it was 410. So 400 to 410. So we're really climbing in CO2. It's increased 25% in my lifetime. And in my grandchildren's lifetime here, it will more than double. So it's a ethical issue. Laudato Si is one of the Pope's encyclical about climate change and how important that is from an ethical standpoint, in addition to the scientific standpoint. So saving energy is extraordinarily important. However, indoor air quality is also very important. As we learned in the last year, control of infectious aerosols is enhanced by more ventilation so that we dilute the contaminants that are in the air and any of the bioaerosols that get into the air. And I don't want to go into a lot of that detail here, but ashray.org/COVID-19 gives you all the information that you need for buildings and so forth of how to make them more robust and reduce the risk of transfer of infectious aerosols in the buildings. That, of course, includes such things from an engineering perspective of more ventilation, higher efficiency filtration, portable air cleaners, high intensity UV lights. In addition to all the public health issues we're all familiar with, wearing a mask, social distancing, stay home when you're sick, temperature checks to help keep people that are infectious out of the building. The challenge with COVID is that you can be infectious before you know you've got it. So that's one of the big areas. But that's what's kept us all in such a kerfuffle over the last year of trying to social distance and so forth. And I know several of us have been working from home since March. It's a lot different way of doing business. Americans spend about 87% of their time indoors and 70% of that at home. And in the last year, that's been higher. Gaseous contaminants of concern, which is my specialty area, particularly formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is a known carcinogen. I did a survey of 249 homes showing that formaldehyde and acetaldehyde were in 100% of those homes. In over 90%, it was above the reference exposure limits that are acceptable to California. And I also did work on disability adjusted life years to see what medical impacts it could have on a population as a whole. And I was able to demonstrate that if you could do demand controlled ventilation with formaldehyde, you could justify getting to the 7 part per billion reference exposure limit that California recommends. If you don't have demand controlled ventilation and can't vary it by season, then you really need to have continuous ventilation. And you also need continuous ventilation at a lower level to meet the ASHRAE 62.2 guidance. Carbon dioxide, that may not just be a surrogate for good indoor air quality anymore. And the more recent work that has come out.
Good, how are you?
Let's see, we've got to, how can we mute people here? If you can mute yourself, I'd appreciate it. Yep. And
I'll try to monitor it better there, Mark.
Okay, thanks. And so in the last several years, more work has come out on better ventilation with higher productivity, and that actually can impact the bottom line. And the book here by, it's not going to show up, Healthy Buildings by Allen and McComber out of Harvard, shows you that you can really justify much higher ventilation rates and much better filtration just by increased productivity of the employees. And that was before COVID, in which you can also demonstrate that if you do these things, the risk of transmission of COVID and other viruses and bacterial infections will go down, and that will also save you money. So it's a direct transfer to the bottom line. So it's a very exciting time to be involved in indoor air quality and how we can optimize these. So there are 3 basic tools to improving indoor air quality. 1, source reduction. Don't put that bad stuff in there to start with. 2, ventilate it to dilute the bad stuff. And 3, air cleaning. Now that can be filtration for particulates or filtration for gaseous contaminants of concern, such as formaldehyde and ozone. There's a good position document by ASHRAE that just came out in July 2020 that goes into this in a little bit more depth. So the whole challenge here is balancing indoor air quality and energy use in homes. And it is truly a balancing act. And there's more than 2 degrees of freedom on that. It's just not energy and IAQ. It's also productivity, health, cost of materials, and all those sorts of things. So how we are doing this at Daikin is we have the Daikin 1 ecosystem, 3 components. 1 is to detect what's in the air, how much is in the air, when do you need to be doing something about it. We want to be able to visualize that which we do with our 1+ thermostat, and you want to act upon it, which you do by increasing ventilation or increasing filtration and keeping your air handler or furnace fan on continuously. Now, we look at this from the nose of the outfit is our Daikin 1 home air monitor, and the eyes and brains of the outfit is the 1+ thermostat, and then the products that actually help implement this. And we also combine this with all the clean comfort products, which Jonathan is responsible for. And we'll talk about that as we go through the presentation. So I want to give you a short video about this whole overview, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you cannot hear it when I start it.
Imagine air with fewer pollutants, fewer chemicals, less pollen and dust. Imagine life with the Daikin 1 ecosystem, a family of air-intelligent devices working together to bring you smarter air management, premium air quality for comfortable indoor living, and space-saving efficient heating and cooling that doesn't interfere with your outdoor space. It starts with the Daikin 1 Smart Thermostat, a cloud-connected air intelligence system that monitors temperature, humidity, and air quality inside your home, ensuring unwanted contaminants and airborne irritants are minimized.
Oh yeah, there's... Sorry, honey. It's okay, Mom.
Once activated, Daikin IAQ technology helps improve indoor air quality using sensors in your duct system to detect airborne particles and chemicals. Outside air is brought into the system to dilute chemicals. Dust mites, cat dander, ragweed pollen, and particles are then trapped. Formaldehyde is degraded. And to keep your AC coil clean, our specialized UV treatment helps minimize mold and bacteria growth. To further enhance your indoor comfort, personalized humidity control helps make the air inside your home as light and refreshing as you like.
Fresh mojitos.
You're speaking my language.
Clean, fresh air, all powered by the new Daikin Fit, one of many Daikin 1 compatible HVAC solutions. With its space-saving design and efficient inverter compressor, the new Daikin Fit offers quiet technology that makes it as unnoticeable as the air itself. Smart thermostat, indoor air quality, and energy-efficient HVAC. The new Daikin 1 ecosystem. Air intelligence.
So that's the professional video of the overview of our Daikin 1 ecosystem. And this is just an expansion on that. And you'll see all of this in the brochure that you can download from the IAQ Symposium website. So the brains of the outfit, again, is the 1+ thermostat. The nose of the outfit is the air monitor. And then we act upon this by turning on keeping the blower on for 3 hours with our one clean button on our thermostat that turns on the fan for 3 hours and pulls it through the MERV 15 filter of the Daikin 1 air cleaner. And we also can ventilate with a powered ventilator. And then the other suite of products here are Jonathan's products, the clean comfort products. We have a HEPA bypass filter. We have dehumidifiers and steam humidifiers, and then heat and energy recovery ventilators, and also UV coil purifiers, UV lights going directly on the coil. So this is an overall system, and we drew this up as a basement installation, which you typically see in the north. This can also be used in a attic installation like we have in the south here. And my house that I moved into a year ago, basically have this system in my house. We've got some makeup air. The Daikin 1 powered ventilator brings in 40 to 100 CFM of outdoor air, and that's normally meets the minimum ASHRAE 62.2 requirements. Of course, there's an equation on how you calculate that amount of air that you need to be the minimum. The minimum is about 0.3 to 0.35 air changes an hour, depending on the weather conditions you're in. And that's, in my house, I've designed it to be 1 air change an hour. but I operated around 0.6 to 0.7 because it's very expensive to run it at 1 air change an hour. And why do I run it at that high levels? Because the research has shown that people's health is more optimal if it's 0.6 to 0.7 air changes an hour. Now, of course, it's going to depend significantly on what materials of the house you're made out of, what personal care products and cleaning products you use in your house, and all those sorts of things. So that's a rough estimate. We also have an energy recovery ventilator to bring in outdoor air and exhaust that air, so it's balanced ventilation. And the powered ventilators just do a little bit to make up air for bathroom exhaust, laundry, and then some kitchen exhaust. And in our house, we have a little bit larger makeup air so that it does make up as much air as we exhaust through the kitchen exhaust, which exhausts directly to the outside. A bypass dehumidifier is necessary here in Texas to keep the humidity where I want it, which is below 50% relative humidity. HEPA bypass filters get the real small particles and run continuously. And then in the return, we also have the the Daikin 1 air monitor to detect if we've had an event and if we need to keep the air handler on longer. And that can go into the return or into the return plenum. Then it goes through the MERV 15 filter into the air handler and a UV coil purifier on the coil. And then in some areas, you'd want to have a steam humidifier, typically in the north, but not necessarily in the south here. And you'd put that into a exterior insulated plenum. You wouldn't want to put it in a interior insulated plenum. And then that goes back to the supply and get clean, fresh, humidified or dehumidified air back into the living space. Now, one of the items that I recommend for contractors is the Air Advice Monitor. It's a third-party data, and recommendations were made by that. Daikin does not sell that. We do work with Air Advice and offer it to our contractors at a discounted rate because we've made a deal with Air Advice. But we don't make a dime off of the sales of those. And what this does is you take it in and you plug it in the house when the contractor walks in. They take a 30-minute recording and they get a report at the end of 30 minutes showing temperature, relative humidity, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, chemicals, and particulates. And from that, they can determine how your house compares to other homes and what the concentrations are in your house. Now, I was initially opposed to a 30-minute deal. And 20 years ago, I worked with Air Advice to get them to put in a VOC sensor, a chemical sensor, when I was working with another company in the industry. And then that was a 4-day deal. So you'd take it in, leave it for 4 days, and then you'd get all the spikes when people cooked and showered and cleaned and so forth in the house, and you could give much more detailed information. And then about 5 years ago, I was working as a consultant for another company, and they wanted to do a 30-minute, and I was not a real proponent of that to start with. But what I found was that if you can get a snapshot, even a 30-minute snapshot in the house, it can be helpful. And of course, every time you go back and do it, you can do it again. And the benefit of that is it's a one-stop data recording. You don't have to drop it off and then come back. So it's a one-trip event. And of course, if a homeowner would like to have a 4-day analysis, you can charge them some money and do it there for 4 days. And then once you get that report, you can show that to the homeowner. And there are recommendations for products. In this case, the Daikin Premium Air Cleaner, and then 2 of the Goodman Clean Comfort products for filtration. And they do this for all the different parameters. So here's a number of Jeff Mounts at Air Advice you can contact to get additional information on that. Okay, so these are the 2 detect and visualize indoor air quality monitors, the Air Advice monitor that I just talked about, and then the Daikin 1 whole home monitor, which is up next. The Daikin 1 home air monitor was the first of its kind in duct air monitoring. And it's an in-duct design, doesn't require a fan, so you don't get dust buildup on the fan and not know what the flow rate is, so you can more easily calculate concentrations and variations and changes. Low maintenance, because it doesn't have the fan. It reports particulates and chemicals, VOC, volatile organic compounds. The particulate sensor is a laser-based lab-grade sensor, and all of them are individually calibrated. It's better than any university setup I have seen for calculating particulates in the air and exposing exact amounts of particles and then calibrating those sensors. They're available only through Daikin Comfort Pros at this time. And our version of this is an IAQ event monitor. So instead of taking it into a house that could be contaminated to start with, and then the homeowner say, well, it doesn't fix the problem when you put a filter in. Well, that's because you have a large generation in the space. But what we do is we take a 7-day average of the particulate and chemical loads in the house. And then from that baseline, we look at a few standard deviations above, and it would turn yellow. And like 4 standard deviations above, when you have, on a very rare occasion, a big event, or whenever I cook in my house, because I burn stuff, especially yesterday, I put some soup on at lunch and got back into my office and something was smelling, and it was the soup that I was burning. So that of course shows up on the air advice, the Daikin 1 home air monitor. So this is what it looks like. If this is the air quality screen on the ONE+ thermostat, and if you have this little arrow in the upper right-hand corner, that means that you have one of the home air monitors installed in your duct. If you have that, you can click on that button and get more detail as to whether your particles and chemicals are in the green, yellow, or orange range. And if they're in the yellow or orange, you'll get a notification at this point on your thermostat, and you'll be able to push the One Clean button to activate that. We are expanding that so it will be automatic. We expect that capability to be installed by later this summer, and that will be an over-the-air update. So that all goes through our ONE+ thermostat that can be updated every couple of months with better software as we find different approaches. And we're also looking at expanding the history of what's happened in your house, both over the last 24 hours and the last 7 days. So you can see some history of, oh yeah, on Saturday we had a big party and boy, those chemicals were really high. And in the future, probably at the end of this year, we're going to be having monthly reports generated for each house that will go to the homeowner. The Daikin 1 Premium Air Cleaner is a MERV 15 filter, and we're working on a room temperature catalyst that we have now completed all of our testing for, and we're going to the last stage gate process in the next week or two to get that out and moving. And we should have that in the marketplace by this summer. We were hoping to have it in last year, but COVID really did a number on us since it's produced in multiple different facilities around North America, and every time we'd move it from one to the next, would have another COVID closure. So this is what the Daikin 1 Premium Air Cleaner it is. It has a MERV 15 filter in it, removes more than 80% of the particles down to 0.3 microns. The room temperature catalyst is coming in the summer. The MERV 15 filter in this cabinet box is available now, and there's a 1-inch slot that will be able to upgrade to a room temperature catalyst if you want to do that as soon as room temperature catalysts come out. Magnetic door, it just pops off and pops back on. And we like that because it's a toolless access. It's really easy to do. No snaps, no latches, no having to get everything lined up to the right hole. It just snaps right back on with the magnets. It's an insulated cabinet, so you don't have the condensation issues. The filter is a good tight fit, and we have a gasket at the back and the front, so it has a very little bypass of air around the filters. Very heavy duty 20 gauge metal, and it's nicely painted so that it looks good and lasts a long time. And it's designed for multiple positions. This is one example that we had at a Daikin employee's house out on the West Coast during the forest fires in September. So they looked at their 1+ thermostat on the 9th, and the air quality was moderate. Then they looked at it again on the 12th when there was heavy smoke outside, and it was very unhealthy. And then they looked at it on the 18th, and it was still unhealthy. Inside was still good, and this is what the filters looked like at the end of the smoke event. You'll see it's all black. All that smoke was contained in the filter there, and this is a brand new filter. One of the residents of the house, she was just thrilled with these filters because she had asthma, and when she went outside, she had significant difficulty breathing because of all the smoke. But as soon as she'd come in, she didn't have any problems breathing because it had good filtration of the air. So people say, well, how long do these filters last? And I'll say, well, typical houses, it's 6 to 12 months. But if you got a big smoke event, about a week works well. And of course, once you have that massive exposure, you would want to change the filter. So here's some more information on the filter efficiencies and what a MERV 15 filter really means. MERV 15 filter in the 0.3 to 1 microns of small particles, it's greater than 85%. And you say, well, why didn't you go for a MERV 16? Well, the difference between 85 and 95% is not that great, particularly when you recognize that this is a recirculating system. So the first time the air goes through, it takes out 85%. And the second time it goes through, it takes out 85% of the 15% it didn't get the last time. So within a couple of turns, it's much better. It's just as good as a MERV 16. Now, if it's a single pass, then you'd probably want the higher MERV 16, which is what we've done in the powered ventilator. So this is comparison to competitor products, and we did took a great deal of effort and work to make sure that the pressure drop was as low as possible. And if you look at the competitive products for 2000 CFM system, the premium air cleaner with just a MERV 15 filter is only 0.17 inches. And with the room temperature catalyst on it, that you see here, it would be about 0.19. The nice thing that we have when we get to the room temperature catalyst is that we're competitive with photocatalytic oxidation and actually have better removal of ozone and formaldehyde than a photocatalytic oxidation unit without the need for electricity, doesn't produce any ozone, doesn't have any UV lights in it, and the mercury that's in the UV lights. So we are quite pleased with this, the product, and I think it stacks up well against the competition. Now, where do you install this? Well, there are several options. If you have a horizontal system, you just put it in front of the furnace or air handler, and there's 7 different sizes. You can have it for an upflow, horizontal, side flow, and a basement return. Or if you have a large air handler, like a 5-ton, you'd want to put 2 filters in to minimize the pressure drop and come in from both sides with a plenum underneath. So here are some more specs on the unit, and these specs are also available on our website. I'll give you that URL here in a short while. And we've got the pressure drop, the MERV ratings, and then these are the 7 different sizes: 21 by 17 inches, 21 by 21, 21 by 24, 28 by 14, 28 by 17, and 28-21, and 28-24. They match very well to all of the Daikin, Goodman, Amana furnaces and air handlers. Now, if you have a furnace, you'd want to put it on a riser so that you can put a larger filter on the side and go in the side port of the furnace. And these are just the part numbers for the replacement filter part numbers for the air cleaner models. The Daikin 1 powered ventilator is our newest product. It launched in October. And this provides 40 to 100 CFM of clean air from outside or fresh air from outside that's filtered through a MERV 16 filter to remove 95% of those small particles on the way in. We recommend it be sized for using the ASHRAE 62.2 equation, which is 0.03 times the floor area in square feet, plus 7.5 CFM times the number of bedrooms plus 1. So for my 2,000 square foot house with 4 bedrooms, I would need 98 cubic feet per minute of continuous ventilation to reach the minimum guidance from ASHRAE 62.2 standard. Now, if you have a larger home, you're probably going to have more than one system, so you can put a powered ventilator on each system, or you can look at using one of the Clean Comfort energy recovery or heat recovery ventilators to get additional ventilation. So there are a lot of mounting configurations. You can mount this on a wall or a ceiling. You can mount it on a joist. You can mount it from hanging rods. We have 3 accessories. One is the air intake hood. I'm particularly proud of this one because it's a Home Ventilating Institute certified air intake hood, the first one that was certified by HVI. HVI certified a bathroom exhaust vent, but they hadn't done an intake yet. And the certification is simply to show that the pressure drop on that air intake hood is quite low. So we bring that in, we go into the powered ventilator, and then we go into an auxiliary heater, particularly if you're in a cold climate, you'd want to heat up some of that air in the wintertime before it gets into the house. And then a motorized damper. The motorized damper is just there, so if the powered ventilator needs to be shut off, you can close the damper, and then you don't get a draft in from outside into the furnace. But based on the ASHRAE 62.2, of course, you'll want to be continually ventilating at the minimum ventilation rate they recommend. There's an onboard controller here and very simple wiring. So here are the accessories and replacement parts: the air intake hood, the Daikin 1 heater for cold climates, and the motorized damper. We have a variety of replacement parts. The only ones you probably need to worry about are our MERV 16 filter, which would be replacing the factory filter after 3 to 6 months. Or if a homeowner does not want to pay the cost of the MERV 16 filter, we do have a MERV 13 filter, which is the lowest we would recommend based on the ASHRAE guidance that came out this year. So our literature, the Daikin 1 ecosystem brochure, can be found at this location. It's also on the IAQ Symposium. I loaded that up this morning. And then the product flyers, I&O manuals, and warranty are on our website. And you just daikincomfort.com, hit products. On the left-hand side, it talks about all the different IAQ products. Click on that. And when you go down in there, all of our literature for I&O manuals, warranty, and all the product flyers are on there, so you can download those. The Daikin 1 ecosystem, once again, the brains of the outfit is the 1+ thermostat. The nose of the outfit is the air monitor, and then the MERV 15 Daikin 1 home air monitor, the powered ventilator, and then the Clean Comfort products for HEPA bypass filtration, humidification and dehumidification, heat and energy recovery ventilators, and UV lights for the coils. So these are the 2 key websites, daikincomfort.com and cleancomfort.com. And I thank you very much. I'm open to any questions you might have.
All right, thanks, Mark. That was more very, very educational. Hopefully you get some questions. If not, this means you did a good job.
Okay, good morning.
Yes.
Yes, just I'm interested. You know, when you are telling the monitoring whole air, so that it's only available, see that monitoring in a customer house, or you can have some stuff we can see that monitoring in our office.
Okay, so if you're a Daikin Comfort Pro, we are working on making that that data with the homeowner's permission available to the contractors, and that will be available later this summer.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yep. Any other questions?
And also, that is very, very like we have to come Daikin dealer after we can have all these stuffs usable, or it can do everybody.
For the Daikin branded products, you're correct. You need to be a Daikin dealer. For the Clean Comfort products, Jonathan would be happy to sell those to anyone and can provide all the support you need on those products.
Uh-huh. And that is difficult to come Daikin dealer?
No, and if you'd like to have someone call you about that, I'd be happy to arrange that.
Okay, thank you.
Where are you located?
In Southern California, Los Angeles.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions?
Oh, everything is perfect. I look at it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if there's no more questions, make sure you check out the IAQ website. I'm sure Kathy and her team are going to be able to post Mark's recording on there. Mark, I guess you can go ahead and end it if you like.
Okay.
That way they know.